So the next topic that I really wanted to talk to you about are some of the attributes that you think are really critical for women who want to lead in new frontiers or who are in careers that are male dominated.
Yeah.
What do you think it takes to really not just be successful, but to also be happy? Because we know a lot of people who are successful and they're miserable because it's not fun.
Absolutely. So a couple things come to mind. To speak to the end of the question about, in particular, not only to do it well, but to be happy doing it, which I kind of see as one and the same in terms of doing it well can lead to fulfillment and happiness, and to not be happy can affect your ability to do your job well. So they're both so important. And that is one of the actually Athena leadership's principles of authentic self. I think that not being your authentic self can be one of a root cause of being unhappy in a role. And I think that part of it is trusting that authentic self. So don't assume going into a situation that your authentic self will not be welcome in that situation and that people won't appreciate it. I think trusting the people around you to actually relate to you better when you are your authentic self is kind of the root of it. So trust it, give it a try. And I think that if it is anything like my experience, you'll actually find that your relationships grow deeper and that people can relate to you more and you can relate to others more, because I think when you're not your authentic self, it actually plays out and there's almost a little bit of a barrier in forming those relationships. And then some of the general advice, and I am still taking in a lot of advice on this topic myself and still learning, but I can't speak to what worked for me or the challenges that I've had. And I would say one of those is focusing not only in participating, but in being great. So it's not enough to be the first female leader of some organization, or it's not enough to be, participant on the first majority female board or something like that. Don't just focus on that you got there. Focus on how you can be the best at whatever that is. And how I kind of worked that was, it's very similar, in my opinion, to spacewalking, where we see huge disparities in the number of women and men that participate in spacewalks. Like 15 women total in the whole history have ever done a spacewalk, and over 200 men have. So huge disparity. So you could really get sort of caught in a cycle where you're just happy you're doing it and that you got there, as opposed to going to thinking about how you can be the best possible spacewalker, to thinking, so how this translates to leadership. Read those books about leadership, analyze your own skills sets and what you need to grow at, and what things you naturally bring to the table. So don't just focus on being a leader, focus on being a great leader. Focus on how you're going to not only fit into the existing model, but you're going to innovate that model. And I think if you take your mind out of the headspace of just participation and move it to greatness, you find that a lot of those other pieces fall into place. And that's not to say don't honor the fact that you are a first, that you're a trailblazer, and to learn about those things and some of the things that come along with that, because that can also be very helpful. But if your main motivation is doing it well, I think that a lot of that will fall into place.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned authenticity, because in my book, The Magnetic Leader, I identified 7 traits of magnetic leaders. Mm-hmm. And the number one trait that I felt was most relevant was authenticity. Definitely. And then when you put up your poll, that was the one that I chose.
Oh, so, nice. Yes.
Yes, I'm authentic. Like, I don't know about the rest, but I know what you see is what you get. So yes. I love your answer, and I think that's really